as we look and stare into the abyss. You never know what's staring back at you. It's coming.
All these voices.
Don't worry, Sweet. This will only hurt a lot.
We had tons of activity, including a demon attack that caused JC, the founder of Shadows Pit Paranormal, to puke all over the place, like projectile vomit. It was insane, and he got scratched on the neck. We captured a disembodied face that was screaming, and we also captured a couple different full-body apparitions, which was badass. Now, Baba Yaga was a Slavic witch, but she was also a supernatural guardian. And basically what she did was beat back the forces of evil from the realm of the dead, made a deal with a bunch of witches in the woods in Armenia. She sold her soul. And I am standing out here in the damn rain. I should have listened to my wife. She told me, if you're going out, bring an umbrella. I don't listen. Now I'm getting wet, so I'm sheltering underneath this tree. A nasty creature that I have actually had a run-in with myself. The bastard scratched the hell out of my car and jumped on. It was a mess. I tell the story in the show.
Are you watching? Getting a lot of activity. The spirit box is saying Satan, Paimon, and other major demons, and chanting and singing and whispering. We've never had that before. So you guys are going to have a great episode coming. The camera guy got attacked right now while we were talking. He got scratched. He said something scratched his back, and I looked at his back, and it's got a scratch on it, guys. There's the picture right there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Staring into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr., and with me, as always, my co-host, old boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. How is everybody tonight?
Tonight's episode is going to be a fun one, and a very, very interesting one. We talk about a lot of different things here on Staring into the Abyss. We talk about your run-of-the-mill paranormal ghosty kind of stuff. We talk about all kinds of different monsters and creatures. We talk about cryptozoological things. We talk about government things that are classified kind of things. We talk about all kinds of cool stuff. One problem that we have here on Staring is almost too much information. And I don't think that's really a problem, but where the problem lies is sometimes you say things and people just plain out don't believe you. And that's understandable to a point, because a lot of the things we talk about are not common knowledge. A lot of the things we talk about are a little bit unbelievable. And that's kind of been my curse, honestly, my entire life. I mean, I have led a spectacular life. I have done some amazing things in my life. The problem is, most of the stories I have, most people wouldn't believe if I told them. So when there is an occurrence where something comes out in the news that proves something that we have talked about on this show to be true, when a lot of people thought it wasn't, that is a pretty special time for me. I really enjoy that. So on tonight's episode, we're going to be looking at a few articles that will prove something that we have talked about here on Staring into the Abyss. I think in both cases for tonight, it was over a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago, that we were talking about these things. Now, before I read the articles, I kind of want to try to explain a little bit for everybody how this all works, so that you can really understand the entire picture here before we get into it. We did a show on Area 51. Now, this show we did was like maybe a month ago. It was fairly recent. And in that show, I was talking about how at Area 51, they do like experimental aircraft. This is aircraft that are highly classified that the general public does not know exist. But they get developed there, they get tested there, and then they go into service if they are deemed good enough, or that it is something that our military and our government decides they want to use. I talked about like the stealth planes, how they had been in operation for well over a decade before the public even knew they existed. That is kind of the way these things work. Once something comes out in the public to where the general public knows it exists, it has already existed for a long time in a classified format where people didn't know that it was there. So as I talk about these things tonight and I read these articles to you, kind of keep that in mind, because that's not just for aircraft. That is kind of with everything that the government does. When this stuff starts to become public, they never say, oh, hey, this exists and we've said it didn't exist for a long, long time, but now we're telling you that it does and we've had it for a decade. They don't do that. They pretend like it's brand new. When the stealth planes came out and everybody in the public learned that they existed, they didn't say, hey, there's something we had for 15 years already and now we're just letting you know about it. They said, hey, look at this brand new plane we came out with. Isn't this amazing? That's kind of what they do. That's important for you to know and to understand, because it definitely applies to what we're talking about tonight. And as I read the articles and explain it to you, I will get into that in more detail so that it makes sense to everybody. Okay, so the very first one we're going to do, we did a show probably at least 2 years ago on the Blood Countess Elizabeth Bathory. Now in this show, I went all into Elizabeth Bathory, what she did. I went deep into the history. If you want to listen to that show, it is on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/James Hersey Jr. You can find it. It was a very, very cool show. Now on that show, towards the end of the show, we got to talking about the reasons why Elizabeth Bathory bathed in blood and drank blood and did all the things she did. It was because of the belief that it would make her young. I also talked about in that show how that practice is still done today. I talked about how the elites will do blood transfusions with children's blood in order to revitalize their bodies, to hold diseases at bay, all those kind of things. Now, at the time I did that, very few people actually believed that to be true. It's one of those things that you talk about and most people say, ah, man, come on, you're full of it. But this article proves what I was saying. So the title of this article is Young Blood Could Be the Secret to Long-Lasting Health. And it is by the New York Post. It's by Gerard Ducon from The Sun, and it was published on September 10th, 2018. Here's the article. Drinking young people's blood could help you live longer and prevent age-related diseases, a study has found. Blood factors taken from younger animals have been found to improve the later life health of older creatures. The study, published in Nature, was conducted by researchers from the University College London, who said it could reduce the chances of developing age-related disorders. Geneticist Dame Linda Partridge said these included cancer and heart disease. She told The Times, quote, I would say aging is the emperor of all diseases. A lot of people regarded aging as natural, and that therefore you shouldn't interfere with nature. We've always considered it an ethical imperative to cure illness where we find it. The research is part of a wave of studies and trials backed by PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel at a San Francisco startup called Ambrosia. Separate trials by Ambrosia included 70 participants, all 35 or older. After being given plasma, the main component of blood, from volunteers ages 16 to 25, researchers noted improvements in biomarkers for various diseases. Ambrosia currently offers teenage blood plasma to customers at a cost of $8,000 per 2.5 liters. Now I want you to notice this really quickly. They just said Ambrosia currently offers. So this isn't something where they're doing a study and considering in the future maybe doing this. This is currently being done. The UCL trial showed older mice did not develop age-related diseases after being given young blood. The mice also maintained sharp cognitive function. The opposite was true for younger mice injected with old blood. The study did not, quote, research in animals is needed to establish the long-term consequences and possible side effects. So here is where they're trying to kind of say this is a future thing, because they're saying that they need to do research with animals to determine whether there are any side effects or long-term damage that can be caused by doing this. Well, they don't need to do that at all because they've been doing this for hundreds of years. It's well known what the side effects and the consequences are by these people because they've been doing it for a long, long time. The basic idea here is that by ingesting or injecting young blood. In the old days, it was done through drinking of the blood or bathing in the blood and absorbing it through the skin. Nowadays, with the advances in medical technologies that we have the capability of infusion. We've had it for a long time. It's not a brand new thing, but it wasn't available in the Middle Ages. So now we can do blood transfusions, we can do IVs, we can do those kind of things. So that is the preferred method of doing it today, to where they will take and get blood from a young person. Usually it's not the 16 to 25 range. Usually it's a lot younger than that. They do this to children. That is the most potent blood. So what they will do is they will take the blood from the child and they will transfuse it into the older person. This makes the person have more energy. It makes them feel younger. It will even help with things like wrinkles and different aging characteristics. And it also does exactly what they said in this article, which is keep diseases at bay. So if you have age-related diseases, by doing the transfusions of children's blood, okay, that blood contains human growth hormone. It contains a lot of different things that young people produce that old people do not produce anymore. And it will definitely help your body fight that disease. Now, it's only temporary. It does not last forever. It's not like you can do this once and you're better. It doesn't do that. This is an ongoing thing. As you get to the point where you're old and you have a disease that needs the transfusions to help you continue living, it is something you have to continually do. They do it sometimes even as often as once a week in order to keep themselves going. Now, this is something that I talked about on that show. I didn't go into as much detail, but I talked about it on that episode. It was seen as absolutely nuts to talk about. It was something that nobody would talk about because, one, you can't prove it without exposing a lot of very powerful people. And that's the kind of thing that could get you end up in a car accident or committing suicide, if you know what I mean. So nobody talks about these things. Now it's beginning to become public to where the general public is starting to find out that this stuff is going on. This is the way they do that. Okay, they start writing articles, they start talking about it, but they do it in a way that doesn't betray the fact that it's been going on for so long. So that's the first article. Before I do the second article, I want to throw over to Old Boy and get his opinions on this, and then we'll move into the next article.
See, this has been going on even before that. People have, that's why some people are try to use the whole cannibal thing. Because remember, Hannibal Lecter said because of blood and it would make you younger, not like you get younger, but it makes you feel younger. It helped your body. And there's some cannibals who actually believe this, and that's why they did what they did. They ate people because they think there was a cannibal group. I forget what the movie was. We talked about them. They believed drinking blood in cannibalism that you would get stronger from disease and you wouldn't get sick. I believe it to a point. It's not illegal to drink blood. Remember that? I mean, people still do it. There's people who actually do that. They actually, what do they call that when you get certified to draw blood from somebody? They'll get that and they'll draw blood and then they'll drink the blood from the person. And they'll get a license to do that and they'll draw blood. There's people who, they're not really a religion, but there's people who think they're modern vampires. They drink each other's blood. So they do that because they think they get the power and the soul from the person they drink the blood, and they get a piece of them. And it makes them younger, and it fights diseases. There's people who actually do this. Because of that, they think they're going to get younger, or they're going to get some kind of spiritual of that person they're taking the blood of. They're bonding with that person. Like if you remember when you do the cut, you blood brothers or blood sisters, you guys made a blood pat, your blood's touched. You think, when you do that, your guys are family forever when you do that. Kind of the same thing why they do it. And yeah, I believe they've been doing this more than for a long time. They do a lot of things and then they talk about it 10, 15 years later like it's new. It's not. It's been going on for a while. I do believe that younger blood, if you think about it, has more nutrients, so it would make sense. Would it cost a lot of money, like you were saying, so that leads doors to bad things. So, I mean, it's great to use that, but there's always the option of somebody getting killed over this because no one always has that kind of money. Like you were saying, for so many leaders, you get for so much money, not everybody's going to have it. And if you found out that blood from younger people or kids, people would be doing that all the time. They would go to these places buying young blood and younger teenage blood and using it. And then you would have a black market like you have with everything. So you would have that would lead into human trafficking. So there is a bad thing that can end up happening. I think that already happens anyway for certain people, and it's already been talked about. I don't want to get into politics, though, because everybody does. This is going to be something that later on down the line, it's going to end up being something bad from it. And I'm not saying everything's bad. I mean, if it's legal and you're doing it, I'm not against it. Whatever. That's you're adult. You're going in there getting paid to do this and giving people your blood. I'm not against it. I can't stop you from what you do when you're a kid. I mean, when you're 18 and over. But when you're under 18, you're taking it from kids. I have a different opinion on that. Unless their parents sign for it. But I think that's kind of crazy that you're taking blood from 16 and 15-year-olds. But I guess it helps you from getting AIDS and other diseases. I mean, we got to look at that too. It helps. There's a good side of it. It helps you from disease and getting sick. But in a moral thing, if it's under 18, it's just like with alcohol, cigarettes, and whatever that shouldn't be been done without permission. Like I said, whatever you do when you're adult, it's your business. You want to do that, drink blood or take people's blood, or you want to go to these places and do it. I just think it's going to open doors to other things, like a black market where people are going to get sold, and they're this, why worry about it? If we take their blood, we'll just kill them and take all their blood and sell it. I just think there's a bad thing that can happen with this, and people can say whatever they want, but there's good too. I mean, it could help a lot of people, but I don't think there's always somebody has to try to make a profit on everything, and they don't care how they do it or who they hurt. So that's all I got to say about that, brother.
And see, that is already taking place. Now, I want you to remember me saying this, because this is another thing I'm going to say, that right now, I can't point to an article that proves it. But in the near future, it will be public, and you will all know. This is part of that great awakening I was talking about multiple episodes ago, of some of the things that are going to be coming to light that are taking place that the general public doesn't know about, but it's absolutely terrible. This is one of those things, because what we're talking about here is not a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old or a 25-year-old that is willingly giving their blood or being paid for their blood in order for a wealthy elite person to get the transfusion. That's not what's taking place. It might take place now and again, but what we're talking about here and what the main amount of this is children, and they're not willingly giving this blood. This is tied in with human trafficking. This is tied in with a lot of missing children. This is bad, bad stuff. Okay, I cannot at this time go into too much detail about it, but I want you to remember this, because in the future, and it's not going to be a long time from now, within the next year or two, when this all becomes public, you will know this is what I was talking about. Okay, I did this episode before where I kind of started talking about it a little bit, and as we go, remember I told you, as I can reveal more, I will. But I can't reveal everything all at once because it's just not safe to do so. As things begin to become public, I will be able to talk more about them, and you will be able to know more about stuff that's not being talked about in the news, the details of it, but that the subject has been talked about. So this is one of those things. Okay, this is tied in with human trafficking, with child abduction, with missing children. It's tied in with the global elite and with the Illuminati and all of those kind of things. It's all rolled into one big, ugly, ugly package. And this is one of those things. And this is the way it's starting to become public, is through articles like this, where they're starting to admit that this stuff is taking place, but they don't tell you all of the horrible things that are being done. They just say, hey, look at this new thing. Isn't it amazing? We just discovered that this takes place. That if you have young people blood in you, that it makes you younger. They're just now figuring that out. No, they're not. It goes all the way back to the Middle Ages. Okay? It goes way back. They've been doing this stuff for a long, long time. So remember that I said this, and when it becomes more public, a lot of the horrible details start to become public, we'll talk about it again, and I'll give you more. But right now, that's all I can talk about with this one. The next one we're going to talk about has to do with probably one of the most controversial things I ever said on the Staring Into the Abyss show. We were talking about human-animal chimeras. That is when you take genes from an animal and you mix them with genes from a human and you create a hybrid. I talked about these on the show. I said that they existed. I said that our government has made some and that other governments in the world has made some as well. I said that there are documents that prove this, some of which have been released, and I talked about it a little bit. This show took place a couple years ago, and I couldn't even honestly tell you exactly what show it was. I know we talked about it on the Dyatlov Pass episode. We talked about it a little bit, but we also talked about it on other episodes. So this article is going to prove that that is real. So this article is from ScienceAlert.com, and the title of this article is Japan Approves Groundbreaking Experiment Bringing Human-Animal Hybrids to Term. It was written by Carly Casella, and it is from July 30th, 2019. So this is very, very recent. Stem cell biologist Hiromitsu Nakachi has been waiting for this moment for more than a decade. After years of planning, the persistent researcher has at last received approval from a government willing to pursue one of the most controversial scientific studies there is, human-animal embryo experiments. While many countries around the world have restricted, defunded, or outright banned these ethically fraught practices, Japan has now officially lifted the lid on this proverbial Pandora's box. Now I'm going to pause here for a moment, because notice they said that many countries around the world have restricted, defunded, or outright banned these ethically fraught practices. So right there is a clue. Okay, they are admitting here that this stuff has been taking place. Because if it's brand new, groundbreaking stuff like the article's trying to claim, then how could it be banned or defunded? If the research was not taking place and this wasn't happening, how could they stop it from happening if it wasn't happening in the first place? Now I'm going to go back to the article. Earlier in this year, the country made it legal to not only transplant hybrid embryos into surrogate animals, but also to bring them to term. As a lead stem cell researcher at the University of Tokyo and Stanford University, Nakachi has gone from country to country, chasing his dream of one day growing customized human organs in animals like sheep or pigs. With more than 116,000 patients on the transplant waiting list in the United States alone, Nakachi hopes his idea can transform lives. That ultimate goal is still a long way off, but the next step in his research has at least been given the green light by ministry officials in Japan. As the first researcher to receive government approval since the 2014 ban, Nakachi plans on taking things slowly so that public understanding and trust can catch up. We don't expect to create human organs immediately, but this allows us to advance our research based upon the know-how we have gained up to this point, Nakachi told the Asahi Shimbun. The experiments will start by injecting human-induced pluripotent stem cells into rat and mice embryos, all of which have been genetically manipulated so that they cannot make pancreases. The goal is for the rodent embryo to use the human cells to build itself a pancreas, and for 2 years, the team plans on watching these rodents develop and grow, carefully monitoring their organs and brains in the process. Only then will the researchers ask for approval to do the same with pigs. While human-animal embryos have been created in the past, such as pig-human embryos and sheep-human embryos, they've never been allowed to develop to term before. One of the biggest fears with this type of research centers on exactly where these human stem cells actually go in an animal, and what type of cells they could develop into once they are injected. While Nakachi and his team are trying to target this treatment to just the pancreas, if they detect more than 30% of the rodent brains are human, they will suspend the experiment. These are parts of the government's conditions to prevent a humanized animal from ever coming into existence. Nakachi, however, doesn't think this is going to happen. Last year, he and his colleagues at Stanford successfully made the first human sheep embryo, and although it was destroyed after just 28 days, the hybrid contained no organs and very few human cells, only about 1 in 10,000 or less. We are trying to ensure that the human cells contribute only to the generation of certain organs, Nakachi explained the winter edition of Stanford's Medicine's Out There. With our new targeted organ generation, we don't need to worry about human cells integrating where we don't want them. So there should be many fewer ethical concerns. And that's the end of the article. Now, you might say, well, they're not talking about creating human-animal chimeras at all. They're just talking about growing organs in animals. That's the way they're trying to spin this. That's the way they are bringing it forth to the public. But we know for a fact that this has already been done. We have documentation that this has been done. There have been documents that have been released that talk about human-animal chimeras. There's actually diagrams that show how these things were made and what they look like that have been released. But that is the way that they are trying to bring this into the public awareness so that it's not so scary for everybody and everybody doesn't say, whoa, what the hell have you been doing? You can't do that. They're trying to make it look like, oh, we're just trying to grow extra human organs in animals so that we can save people's lives. Look, it's a good thing. We weren't creating human-animal chimeras for the purpose of warfare or anything crazy like that. That would be absolutely insane. Why would we do that? No, what we're trying to do is we're trying to save people's lives by putting organs in animals that we can use. And this is like decades away from us actually being able to do it anyway, so you don't have to worry. It's not true. We know for a fact that they've done this before. I have seen, personally, video of rodents with human ears growing on their backs so that they could use those in transplants and stuff like that. Okay, so the medical side of this has been taking place already. So for them to say that it's never happened, that they're trying to make it happen, is an outright lie, because I know for a fact that they've done it before. But what we were talking about was the more classified military application of this, where they actually take human genes and animal genes and mix them to create creatures, whole other creatures. That has been done, and it is documented to have been done. Once again, as time goes by, more of this will get released, and eventually this will all be public knowledge. I'm kind of a little bit over my boots on this one because I'm telling you that this has happened, but that is not public knowledge yet. So when it becomes public knowledge, you will see that I am correct. It will be verified that what I'm telling you is true. But at this point, you can look at this article and see that they are doing this. It is not science fiction. This is not the realm of make-believe, although I admit it sounds like it should be. Okay, when the normal person that hears this is going to say there's no way this is real. They're making creatures out of animals and humans. They're mixing them together and making completely new creatures that have different abilities and can really do a lot of damage. That can't be true. That's something out of a movie or something out of a comic book. That doesn't exist in real life. I can understand how people would think that. I don't blame people for thinking that. What I'm telling you is that is taking place. And this is the first step in bringing that to the public so that everybody knows that it's taking place. You can't just come out and say exactly what's happening because people will freak out. They will lose their proverbial, I can't say the word, they will lose their minds about it. They won't be able to handle that. I'm not saying people can't handle the truth. I'm saying you can't go from it doesn't exist to we've created monsters in order to use in war and to hurt people. You can't make that giant leap all at once. It has to be done in steps because otherwise people will get very, very, very angry. Now they're going to get angry anyway when they find out what's been going on, but you have to do it step by step to bring people along in the process. It just has to be done that way. Now there's a lot of historical examples by a lot of different places of this being done a long time ago from now. Okay, this is not a recent thing. This has been done for quite a long time. Are governments doing it, like the United States government, the Soviet government at the time, all the way back to the 80s and 90s? And maybe even before, but documented cases in the 80s and 90s. But it goes way back even to World War II times for them actually trying to do it. Okay, now I'm going to throw back over to Old Boy, and he's going to talk a little bit about that and give his opinion on this.
Thank you again, brother. Yeah, this one is kind of really interesting to me because this has been going on for longer than they've been saying. They're even saying that aliens did this when they first came to our planet, and that's how they kind of made us. But they were doing experiments like making the Egyptian monsters and gods and the Greek gods, that some of these things were made by them. And what they would do, like you remember, like the Minotaur, half bull, half human, that was what they made. And that's why people saw it. So they didn't, they thought, these aliens were gods. So this is what they made these weird creatures like the Hydra. I mean, Medusa was half woman, half snake, and she was supposed to be cursed, but who knows, they weren't doing that stuff. And he was right. Stalin tried to make an army of human and ape, make a superhuman ape. So this is already, and Hitler was doing stuff with this kind of stuff. He was also trying to bring the dead back, the Walking Dead. He was trying to make an army out of the dead, but it didn't work. That's a whole different thing. But yeah, Stalin tried to do this. There's stuff about this. That's what he was talking about. Russia, and they tried to do the monkey and with an human to make an ultimate soldier. So I mean, yeah, I believe it. I believe they've been trying to do this for a while. They just, what they do is they wait 10, 15 years and then they'll bring it, and you never really pay attention to it. But they've been doing it for more than that. I guarantee it isn't just monkeys too and humans. They've probably done it with lizards and humans. And some of the stuff you see on YouTube, you'll see like a pig human or a goat human, or they've showed like this thing. It looked like it was mixed with an ape, and you could see it. It looked like it had ape features in a human body. It was real weird. A lot of this stuff, some of it's made up too, I know, but I think some of this stuff does happen, and it gets slipped on YouTube, or somebody slips it. And they'll just announce it, that's fake, or somebody just made that up, that ain't real. That's what they do. They've done this for years. They'll say stuff isn't real when it is. So most of you guys won't believe it because you're so used to watching TV and movies. That's what I try to say. I think TV and stuff desensitizes us to like murders, creatures, monsters, stuff like that. So when the real things come, we think it's a joke, it's CGI or makeup or some kind of explanation for what's going on. And I think that's what everybody thinks. There's always going to be one, and then sometimes there's not, and I think that's what it is. Even if we had one of these things, people are going to think they're fake. I've seen people with the giant sea turtles that are saying they're not real, and they are. They really are in the ocean swimming with these things. It's not fake. It's just because you don't see it at your house, you don't believe it. Some people don't believe it existed. Those are real. They exist. People go, that's crazy that people believe this stuff, because like, that's why dumb things happen to people. They'll go mess around with like a lion or something. They think they can take a picture with it and it's going to be their buddy, and it ends up killing them or eating them. Or some of these people have these as pets, and they end up killing them, because you can't control nature. Some things are going to happen, and you do the wrong thing, and these things have animal instincts to kill you. And I think I really don't understand why would you mix any of these anyway. A monkey with a human or a reptile with a human. They think they're going to make some kind of superhuman thing. I don't know. We can cure some diseases or something and make us live forever. There's something sinister in the end they want. They want to make like they said, they want to make like an army where they don't have to feed them all the time, and they got superhuman strength, and they can kill kill more people than a regular soldier can. They don't have to go to sleep. They can sneak around and get you while you're sleeping. I think there's always going to be a sinister thing, and that's why people, there's always going to be something bad. There always is. There's a way to make money. There's always going to be some kind of way of doing something wrong. That's how it always works. I mean, there's probably some stuff you could do with it, but I don't get the point of it. But it's kind of crazy because they're going to be human and a monkey. If you get a 50-50, they're going to be bigger. They're going to be smarter, and they're going to have superhuman strength. And think about that. Do you think that's something you really want in reality? Like, people get scared about robots because they think that robots will overtake us eventually. That could happen. They could think that they're superior than us. We're stupid people that like to destroy each other, drugs, kill each other. We don't have any sensitivity to each other, and they think that we're better than you. We can get rid of that problem by just getting rid of you. There's always like, remember Dr. Monroe? That was what that was about. The Dr. Monroe island of Dr. Monroe. He was doing spicing. and you've seen what happened. And it's different creatures that got mixed. Baboon and a human. The other one was like a pig and a human. Then it was monkey and a human, and a cat and a human, and there was no good from it because they're half human, half animal. Their instincts of being an animal, just like they do these things with like the lager. They mix cats, different cats, tiger and lion. You know, they still got their animal instincts. These things are going to do something wrong to somebody. They can't control it. I don't see the point of it, but I believe it. I believe it's happening. I agree with you, James. I think this stuff's going on all the time, but it's been going on before years.
For those that listen to the show every week, for those of you that have been with us for a while, you will remember when I first talked about this great awakening of the population, that it was going to be something that would completely blow your mind, to completely turn your world upside down. That a lot of the things that you believe to be true are not. And a lot of the things that you believe are not true are. This is part of that. There are a lot of things that are going to be coming to light that the public is going to be finding out about that are going to be mind-blowing, unbelievable things. And there are some things you're going to learn that are going to make you think completely differently about a lot of different people and a lot of the different things that you used to think were good. It's really some mind-blowing stuff. It ventures into the world of politics, it ventures into the history, it ventures into the paranormal. It covers a lot of different territory. We are trying to mainly focus on the paranormal aspect here because that's kind of what we do. But this is going to branch out in a lot of different sectors. The bottom line here is everybody's heard of the Illuminati and these groups, okay? And it has become kind of a joke to where everybody that is famous now is supposedly in the Illuminati and all this. There is a real group of people who kind of pull the strings behind the scenes. And they've been up to a lot of really, really bad things for a long, long time. And a lot of those things are going to become public knowledge to where the average person is going to know about it. But if you know how they communicate, then you will know a lot of the stuff that has already taken place that isn't public yet. Now, I'm going to explain that because that's kind of cryptic and it probably doesn't make a lot of sense. These people are very, very sick. These people are also very, very snobby. Okay, they believe they are better than you. They believe they are special and you are common. Because they believe that, one, they think that they can do whatever the hell they want and they can get away with anything. Because you are too stupid to ever figure out what they're doing. And even if you did figure it out, you are too much of a coward to do anything about it. This is what they think. This is not reality. But this is what they think of you. Because they feel that way, and because they think they're just the greatest thing since sliced bread, they cannot resist the urge to brag about what they're doing. And they brag about what they're doing in several different ways. It is not a coincidence that there have been books and movies done about human-animal chimeras. It is not a coincidence that there have been books and movies done about drinking blood. This is how they brag. They control Hollywood. They control the news. They control pop culture. They control all of the people that shape public opinion. This is how they communicate with each other. This is how they brag about what they're doing, is they will make movies about it, and they will make TV shows about it, and they will do books about it. This is how they brag about these things. Some of you may think it's kind of silly. When we talk about these things sometimes, we will mention movies and stuff like that. That is also not a coincidence that we are talking about certain movies. The reason we do that is because, once again, that is how these people brag about what they're doing. They are admitting to you what they are doing. They are hiding in plain sight. They are telling you this is exactly what we're doing, but they're camouflaging it as a work of fiction. When in reality, what they're doing is they're kind of giving you a peek behind the curtain and letting you see what they're really up to. But they don't think you're going to believe it's real because you saw it in a movie. Once you understand that, all of a sudden, when you hear these things, it doesn't seem so crazy because you think, whoa, they're bragging about this. They've been talking about they've been doing this, and now we know that this is actually taking place. There's a connection there. So that's a kind of a behind-the-scenes look for you, so that you can kind of start to decode this for yourself and see what's going on. As these stories begin to come out, you can look back and say, whoa, they told us all about this and we just didn't listen because we thought it was only a movie. But that's how they brag. Now, what I find extremely interesting about all this is they have no problem telling you what they're doing. I don't understand how they believe that people are just going to be cool with this. When the general public learns what they've been up to and what they've actually been doing, it's not going to be pretty. But they think they have such a control over everybody that there's literally nothing that you can do about it. I mentioned that they own pretty much all of pop culture, and they control the media, the news. Now that might sound ridiculous on its face, but I want you to really look at this with me. I want you to think about this for a second. How do you think it is that every time something happens, or every time the media decides it wants to present a story a certain way, why do you think it is that every single channel and every single newscaster is saying the exact same thing? Not just the same story, but the exact same words. They will have some little phrase in there that they decide they want to use, some little cute phrase they come up with that they think is so funny and so clever. And every single news report will say the exact same thing, word for word. If you do not believe me, you can do one of two things. You can either watch hundreds and hundreds of hours of news for months and months and months, and you will start to notice this pattern that when whatever the story is, okay, this is not a political thing, whatever the story is, notice every single channel is saying the same thing, the same words, the same exact phrases, saying it the exact same way, word for word. And you'll notice that happens over and over and over again. Why do you think that is? The other thing you can do is simply go onto YouTube and type in something along the lines of newscasters saying the exact same thing the same way, or some variation of that. I don't know exactly what you should search for, but that's the general idea you're looking for. Find that on YouTube. There are many, many videos on YouTube of people that have put that together. And you can literally sit there and watch a montage of like 15, 20 minutes of 10, 15, 20 different reporters using the exact same words, the exact same way, from different channels, saying the exact same thing about something. And you'll start to realize as you watch this, how do they all have the exact same script? If you have multiple different channels, you have Fox, you have CBS, ABC, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, you have all these different channels. They're not all supposed to be working together. They're different companies. So how the hell are they saying the exact same phrases, the exact same word-for-word script as their competitors on a story that supposedly just happened? How's that possible? And I'm not talking about dates and times and stuff like that, not the facts of the case that every channel would have. I'm talking about it the same way. I'm talking about using the exact same words, the exact same little clever phrases they come up with that are supposed to be funny and tongue-in-cheek and make you go, oh, wow, he's so clever. Look at that funny thing he just said. It's the exact same. You can find that on YouTube, many, many different examples of that. Several videos where they show over and over again this happening with different stories. So then you have to ask yourself, how is that possible? Why does that happen? It's not a coincidence, I'll tell you that. Mathematically, it's impossible that that's a coincidence. And I know for a fact it's not. The way that happens is because they are all given talking points. They're giving the story, word for word, that they want to use. If they decide that today they want to call somebody a gorilla, then every single news operation is going to call that person a gorilla that day. And they're all going to use the exact same phrase they were given. These talking points are given to these media companies at 4 o'clock in the morning every day. And it's done by our intelligence agency. Okay? And I think you know the three-letter word I'm talking about. It's that agency. They are giving these talking points out to the media every single day at 4 o'clock in the morning. And that is why every single one of them says the exact same thing. The media is not news anymore. It hasn't been news for a while, for quite a while. It is controlled propaganda. Now, once again, you might say that's crazy. You might say you're out of your damn mind. I understand if you want to think that. All I'm asking you to do, I'm not asking you to take my word for it. I'm asking you to look into it yourself. Go to YouTube, spend a little bit of time, find those videos. Watch them. As a rational thinking person, there is no way at the end of that you can say that's a coincidence. There's no way you can say, well, I guess everybody decided to use the exact same silly joke about this story and it was just a coincidence. There's no way. This is what is happening. This will become public knowledge. A lot more details about this will become public knowledge in the near future. When that happens, the blanks will be filled in. You will understand better what is taking place here. I have given you a foundation to start with. I have given you what you need to go out, research this, and find it for yourself and find the truth. It is there. It's in plain sight. You have more than you know. Everything you need, you have. You just have to put the pieces together. And you will see a lot more of the puzzle than the general public is aware of. With that being said, it's about time to wrap this one up. I hope you guys enjoyed this show. And I hope that for some of you, they get a little frustrated sometimes because we don't go into enough detail on some of these things. And I told you there's a reason for that, and there is. But today we were able to go a little bit further. And I hope that satisfies you in some way to where you can say, oh, now I know a little bit more about what's going on. I kind of understand a little bit better. And I've given you the tools now to start to look into these things for yourself. And you will find a hell of a lot more than we've talked about. Because it's there. You just have to look for it and find it yourself. So I hope that you've enjoyed this show. And I'm going to throw back over to Old Boy now so that he can do his wrap-up and his shout-outs.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed the show. We want to try to, make sure couple people, oh, why don't you ever tell the whole story? We can't say certain things. Sometimes we can get as best we can, get close as we can, like we did today, and more explain stuff. But I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We're going to do some more like this, so I hope you guys are ready for it. So I want to thank everybody on Parax Radio. You guys can check us out at Parax Radio. You go online, 9 Pacific time, 12 Eastern, Sunday night, technically Monday morning if you're in the East, and you can listen to our shows. They always play our shows, the first one, the one for the new one, and the week before after that. So you can listen to both of them if you missed them. So go on there, Parax. You can they also have other affiliates they play it on, so you can listen to it on whatever affiliates they have. You can check us out on James Hersey Jr.'s YouTube page. All the shows are on there. Everything we've done from the past and new. This show will be on there soon in a couple days. So usually it's like we put it on, Parax on Sunday, and usually comes out 2 or 3 days later on YouTube. Even earlier, like maybe even the day after that sometimes. So, you guys, we at the merchandise store. We're going to start really advertising that more. We've lowered our prices on our shirts, so you guys can get something really good. And whatever you guys want, let us know. We could even autograph it for you, but that's going to cost a little bit more. But we're going to get hats and all kinds of stuff on there. So posters, all kinds of stuff. We got blankets now, so check that out. I hope everybody has a great night. Misfits, sugar ladies, demon hunters, and monster lovers. I love you. Have a great night. Blessed be.
First of all, I would just like to start off here by saying thank you. Thank you to all of you that listen every week, that religiously watch the show. That's awesome. There are some people that never miss an episode. And believe me, I see that. And I appreciate that a lot. We talk about things on this show that not a lot of people talk about. And that is because people think you're nuts when you talk about this kind of stuff. But as we go, we always provide as much evidence as we can to prove that what we're saying is true. We're not a make-believe show. Okay, this isn't fiction. We're not on here talking about stuff that doesn't exist. A lot of times we're telling you things do exist, and we're showing you that they do. And when you start thinking about it, that a lot of these monsters and creatures that we talk about, that some of them might have actually been created by the government, and now we're seeing more and more that is actually taking place, it's becoming public, then all of a sudden it doesn't seem so out of the realm of possibility. It doesn't seem so crazy that you might have some weird creature out there. So I want to say thank you to everybody that always listens, and I appreciate that. And for those of you that share the show on your Facebook and stuff like that, you have no idea how much that helps. If everybody that loves this show and listens would share it each week, there would be no stopping all of us. I mean, this is a special kind of show anyway, because there's not a lot of people out there that do what we do. And the support that we get is really, really humbling sometimes, to be quite honest with you. Because you guys are amazing. All of you that listen and comment and support us, it's really awesome. And I just wanted to say thank you, and I love you. So now time for the shameless plugs. The YouTube channel is youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. As Old Boy said, that's where all the episodes of the radio show are, all the replays of it. All of the episodes of the TV show Tales from the Abyss that we do is on there. We also have other videos on there. There's hundreds of videos on that channel now. So please go there and check it out. Subscribe to the channel and enjoy it, because it's all 100% free and it's there for you to enjoy. The merchandise store is teespring.com/stores/staring into the abyss. That's teespring.com/stores with an S on the end /staring into the abyss. That store is really there because of you guys. We had a lot of listeners ask us for t-shirts and stuff like that. We did not have a merchandise store, so when we kept having people ask us for the stuff, we decided to try to give you guys what you wanted. So that's where the store came from. It's not something where we're trying to cash in and make a ton of money, because we talk about it on the show at the end every week, but we don't really do a whole lot of advertising for it, anything like that. So that is where you can find the merch if you wish to buy some. It is there. As Old Boy mentioned, I figured out how to lower the prices on a lot of the stuff. So all the new shirts we come out with are a lot cheaper than they were before. And I'm working on getting the prices down on all the stuff that's already on the site. So we're trying to give it to you for as little over our cost as we possibly can. We have to be able to pay to make it and to ship it and all that. But we're not trying to get rich off this. We're just trying to give you guys merch if that's what you want. So if you are a person that is into merchandise and you want that kind of stuff, that's where you can find it. Once again, thank you. You guys rock. We couldn't really do what we do on the scale that we do it if we did not have your support. So thank you very much. And for those, once again, that share the show every week, you guys are rock stars in my book. You are awesome, and I so much appreciate that. It is beyond words how important that is. So if you're a fan of the show, please share it on your Facebook. You know, I put the link up for the replay on YouTube every week on the Staring Into the Abyss Facebook page and on my personal page on Facebook, and Old Boy does as well. So that's where you can find the link every week. And please just share it with all of your friends and family. You know, share it on your timeline so that the people you know can see it. Because that is the most effective way of growing the show and spreading it around, at least that I've found. So once again, thank you. You guys are awesome. We are really, really out of time, so I've got to run. So until I speak to you again, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do we. Bye-bye.